Come on, Livingston, we're gonna go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We're gonna go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across. It's turned in. It's Pittman who's got it. Livingston leads.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien. Leith! And Livingston have the lead! Man, can score.
If we march to
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livy, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name is Callum and today I am joined by Angus and Ewan. How are we doing, guys? We recovered from that result on Saturday.
Not really. Bit frustrating one. Again, it's very similar pattern to our last few games in that we've conceded late on to cost us a win or at least a point. So, yeah, bit of a frustrating one, which we'll obviously go into a bit later.
Yeah, very much the same. A double whammy of kind of poor results, but I guess we just got to put it behind us and yeah, we'll get right into it.
As always, you can find this episode as well as all of our others on your preferred podcast streaming site. Simply just search for Talk Livy. So follow us or subscribe to ensure that you don't miss another episode.
We'll start the episode off by talking about our Premiership defeat to Motherwell as the Lions suffered more late heartbreak.
We'll then discuss the recent results for our women's side with some mixed results the past couple of weeks.
And last of all, we make our first trip to the capital as we travel to Leith to take on Hibernian.
The Lions were on home plastic again as we welcome Motherwell to Tony Macaroni Arena. Similar to previous weeks, set pieces and late goals would prove to be our downfall as we lost 2-1 to the Steelmen. As we kind of touched on in the intro, guys, all a bit frustrated with it. What were our thoughts on the game then?
I only seen the second half because I was playing football myself, but it just echoed basically every other kind of game that I've seen this season. There's not an awful lot of quality between us and the opposition, but it's just individual errors and defensive mistakes that are costing us dearly. And I mean, that's 3 Premiership games and a cup game, and we've given away a goal in each of them. And, you know, we're deservedly on 0 points because of that. We can't just keep on giving away goals and expecting, to stay into games. But as for the performance itself, I don't think there was anything really there that showed that, Motherwell were a much better side than us. I think there is positives to take in that kind of aspect that, I do think that we're not playing very poorly for a team who's not, picked up a point yet. I don't think the performances are extremely worrying except for, that one aspect at the back. It's just extremely frustrating, that we just keep on shooting ourselves in the foot like this, and we've really got to sort it out soon because we're going to keep on being adrift at the bottom if it continues. But yeah, not an awful much to add to that, but just incredibly disappointing.
Bruno, you were obviously covering the game. You had Marvin Bartley next to you. I'm sure Marv was a bit frustrated as well, aspects of the game. What were your kind of thoughts on it?
Good for me personally to have Marv beside me. Obviously, he's very, an absolute encyclopedia of football for me. And, it was good to get a sort of insight into the tactical side of it from him. But yeah, he was frustrated. I think he sort of touched on it as well, though, the fact that what Angus was saying there, that, if you don't take your chances, you don't really deserve anything. He was sort of honest about that, didn't sugarcoat it or anything. And, I agree with him. Sort of spoke about it before the game as well, on the Aberdeen game and on the St Mirren game. It's a relatively good performance in both of those games. Not so much on Saturday, but you know what I mean? We were still in the game. Don't think there was a lot between the sides. I think it's even more frustrating because it's a pretty poor Motherwell side, isn't it? If you look at the last few seasons. So, no, I think that's why it's so frustrating, the fact we're getting in these positions and we're just not pulling the trigger and obviously or finishing our chances, should I say. But yeah, the defending is questionable for the first goal in particular. Can't say it wasn't coming in terms of the fact that, you know, in the first half they had countless corners, which we ended up dealing with in the end. But, you know, it just looked like they were hanging the ball up to the back post for the big guy, Uyala. It was inevitable. He was gonna head one down, wasn't he? And then Tony Watt's free, which again, maybe you can win the first header. Okay, I get a defender or a defensive player can lose a first contact, first header. That's fine, but it's what you do with the second ball as well. And it's criminal leaving Tony Watt free. I'm not sure whose man it is. But
well, you talk about you're not sure whose man it is. I don't think anyone picked him up in the entire phase of play. He was saying that to Angus just before recording. He's actually standing in front of Stryjek at the start of the corner and nobody reacts to him in the box at all. And he's arguably one of their biggest threats. How can you leave their centre forward just roaming about in your 6-yard box at a dead ball? It's really poor. And then you touch on the corners as well, Bruni. Every corner they took was short. And as you say, they were hanging it up to the back post that you could almost tell what was coming. Even for the corner we conceded the goal from, I think Pitts needs to do more to go and, because you know they're going to play it short. So yes, you might need to stand 10 yards back, but you know they're going to play it short, so you can react it, you know, almost instantaneously as soon as the ball's played, and you can get out to the cross. And I think Pitts stands off and allows the ball to come in a bit as well. So, and then I think that, as you say, could win the first contact. Again, I don't think anyone's really challenged him. Fitzwater's closest to him, and he's not really made any kind of real challenge to even not allow him to get a clean contact on it. It's such a poor goal. It's such a poor goal to concede, and it's this Achilles heel of ours in the last couple of seasons, which is set plays, and we really need to address it, as Angus said, pretty quickly.
We're sort of debunking that myth, aren't we? That we're a set piece team every week, as it goes on. You know, long ball, Livingston, and all this. When you know we played Motherwell there, who've got about 8 guys over 9 foot. So I think we've sort of debunked that physical myth.
But yeah, kind of moving on from that, I guess. Then, what kind of positives would you guys take from this? Obviously, you had Alan Forrest kind of getting another goal. Decent kind of finish from him. Bruce Anderson linking up well with him. Is that the kind of the main positives that we're getting from this game? Is, you know, from an attacking front, we do still seem to be, you know, offering a good enough a threat. We should have equalised, or we should have taken the lead, should I say, for Nicky Devlin as well. Is that the kind of thing that's kind of given us like some hope still that, you know, if we do sort out our defence, we're going to be fine because, you know, we have got that kind of quality that does seem to be, you know, playing reasonably well up front, I would say. Was that your guys thinking as well?
I think if you look at the full game, so kind of first 20, 25 minutes, I would say, I think Motherwell were kind of bossing it a wee bit and they were dictating it. Without creating an awful lot, I think O'Hara had an effort at the back post that he dragged wide. You know, other than that, they didn't actually create a lot. They had a lot of pressure. But I think we always looked a threat on the counter. You mentioned Alan Forrest. I think he started the season really well. You know, he proved a constant threat a couple of times. Maybe his decision making. I think he had the opportunity to put Bailey through on the counter at one point, and he's tried to take on another man, another couple of touches. But the goal, I think, this is where I go with the Anderson stuff, and I've said this in previous podcasts when we talked about the Aberdeen game in particular. Anderson caused Aberdeen a lot of problems because we were giving him good service, getting in down the channels and, you know, dragging centre-halves out of position. And it's exactly what we did for the first goal. You know, he's dragged one of the centre-halves out. Devlin's played a ball over the top. Anderson's taken it in. He's played it over to Forrest, and Forrest has tucked it away really well. We talked about how he's almost trademarked that cutting inside and using his right foot to whip it in. Well, he's went and used his left foot this week. So he's debunked that myth of his trademark goal. And I think on the counter, we offered quite a good threat throughout the game. I agree with you, Angus. I think going forward, there's definitely something there. And I think we're capable of creating chances. We've shown that in the Aberdeen, St Mirren and Motherwell games that, you we're more than capable of opening teams up and creating opportunities. But as you say, like Marv said to you on commentary, Bruni, if you don't take chances, you're going to struggle to win football games. And it just shows you the fine margins I think you're going to experience in the league this year. Because I think, maybe from fourth downwards, I don't think there's a great deal between the sides. And, Nicky has that gilt-edged chance. It's probably, as much as I love Nicky, he would probably admit it himself, he's not a natural finisher. So he's probably one of the players you wouldn't really be wanting on the end of that chance. And, if Nicky sticks that away, it's a totally different game. We're 2-1 up with, say, 20 minutes to go. And, it's go back to it again. I think the second goal, we conceded Obalai's. Tony Watt's right-footed. And he's allowed Tony Watt 2 or 3 touches to come back inside to get a shot away on his right foot. Yeah. And he originally has him down the line. Just keep showing him there. Don't let him come back in. And I think Max has probably seen it quite late, and he has done well to get saving. But again, I think we need to react a bit quicker to him parrying it. I think Pitts is kind of nearest to it, and again, it's a reaction thing. He needs to react a wee bit quicker. But it's frustrating because there isn't much in these games. But that's what I'm saying. I think this season, these fine margins could be very telling come the end of the season. And I know it's very early doors. I don't want to start hitting panic buttons like a few fans are. But there's already kind of a trend setting in of we're conceding a goal straight after half time. In the Aberdeen and Motherwell games, we're conceding goals late on, set pieces, not taking chances. There's a combination of things there which, hopefully we can turn that around in the coming weeks.
Well, so kind of following the game as well, I think Davey kind of admitted that, we could probably do it with another centre-half. Has that been the case all along? Do you think we've kind of discussed that to quite a great extent here? Do you think it's kind of been vindicated by, these kind of defensive issues? Is it as kind of clear as that? Is it just that we're missing, a body in there? Is it more of a kind of, maybe even more of like a character thing? Are we missing like a proper leader at the back? Somebody who's, properly a natural centre-half, who's going to organise, who's going to, lead by example? Is that really what we're missing, right now in our back line, essentially?
I tell you who we're missing, and he scored for Northampton at the weekend. I knew he'd be a big miss, but it's very, very evident at the minute. It's a tough one. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to slag defenders off or anything like that, but it hasn't been good enough from our point of view. The goals we've conceded, it's not as if we've conceded absolutely tremendous strike. I don't know how to. I can't put my finger on it. It's basic defending. Do you know what I mean? We talk about it from the first goal. It's a corner. Second goal as well. It's not showing somebody down the line. It's the basics of football. And do you know what I mean? I played fives during the week and I was absolutely hopeless. So I've not got any right to slag anybody. But it's very, very difficult to watch. And we're not going to win many games of football if we continue to defend like that, no matter how good you are going forward. So it's good though that the managers come out and said that it's an issue that needs to be addressed though. I thought, for the record, Fitzy and Obalai they'd done fairly well up to a point, throughout the majority of games. Again, it was just those lapses of concentration. And I think it's the last 4 games. I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's the last 4 games we've conceded from a set piece or on the second phase of a set piece. That's very, very worrying.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Bruni. It's frustrating because I don't think Io and Jack have been, I wouldn't say they've been doing a great deal wrong in games, but it's just these little individual lapses in concentration almost, and just these little things. If we can eradicate that from performances, don't get me wrong, it's a 90-minute game of football. There's going to be an occasion where you're going to have a little lapse in concentration, but if we can try our best to eradicate these little basic mistakes, it could be the difference between us starting picking up points or continuing to struggle to pick results up. As I say, I'm not going to go into that doom and gloom mode. We're 3 games into the season and we've had a very tough start fixture wise, but there was something about this game today that, with our start, with the fixtures we've got, this was quite a big one. Just to get us up and running. We'll go on to talk about it. Easter Road next week is not going to be an easy game against Hibs, who have started the season really well. But it is good that the manager has come out and said, look, we're going to go into the market for another centre-half. I do think it's something we need. As Angus said, we've mentioned it plenty on the podcast. So, hopefully we can bring someone in that can help us in that area. I'd still, we talked about Motherwell being a really physical big side, and I think it told in areas of the game. I think they were able to stamp their authority on the game a bit more. I actually said to my dad, I was like, the irony that I'm saying this, but I think we actually miss a bit of a physical presence in the middle of the park at times. And that's no disrespect to the likes of Hope, Sibs, Shinnie, Pitts playing in there. But, we're used to having maybe like a Marvin in there who kind of is a proper destructive midfield player. And I think if we're able to get another centre-half in and you can get Ayo into the position we've brought him in to play, I think that could help us in that area as well at times, in games like that.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on with that. Sort of had that discussion with my dad as well. The fact that we are missing that physical presence in there. Obviously, that would mean Ayo coming out from centre half. But obviously, if we get that extra body in, then that would be good. It's a weird one though, because obviously it was an unchanged 11, wasn't it, from last week? So, do you know what I mean? In hindsight, it's fine saying that. I'm saying that as well. But yeah, I think the midfield three last week though was excellent. We probably missed Sibbald, I think, trying to unpick the lock of their defence at the weekend. He comes off injured after about half an hour. You hope that's just an impact. I think he took like a knee to the back or something from one of the corners. Thousands of corners they had in the first half. But hopefully that's not too serious, because I do feel we missed him. But, I was going to say a cameo from Shinnie. It was a good hour from Shinnie we saw. He was good, I thought. He had a few nice touches and things. Obviously still getting to grips with things at the club. But I think you can see the quality he's got, and that, he'll come good for us. I don't think it's going forward, as we say, is the problem. Shinnie was quite good going forward. He was finding Devlin down the right, finding Bailey down the right at times, and Forrest and Anderson for me linked up very well. You saw that for the goal, but just in general play as well. We had a good opportunity when Forrest goes by his man. Maybe should cut it back a little bit earlier. I think he maybe goes for goal, and I think Lammy comes across and blocks it. But as you both say, it's very, very fine margins, isn't it? I think we've seen that. That the league's going to be very, very tough this year for everyone involved. You look at Rangers gone unbeaten last season. The loss in their second game there to a very spirited Dundee United performance. I don't think there's anybody with 100% record after 3 games. I think that just goes to show it's a tough league. Everyone can take points off everyone at this stage. So as you again touch on, you and don't want to hit the panic button either. We've played 3 games, no points. You could argue that'll be 4 on Saturday, maybe, which we'll come on to. But it's a tough task going to Easter Road. But I am sort of still remaining optimistic. We've got a lot of boys to come back from injury and things like that. So hopefully, we've just started with a blip. I think it was 2 points from our first 5 last season. And we ended up finishing comfortably in the top 6. So the season's not defined on the first 3 games, which I just sort of say to fans. Obviously, we're all, frustrated at what's been going on, and the fact that, I get why there is a worry. I'm not saying I'm not worried myself, because if we continue to play like this, we'll be playing Championship football. But I think that we won't continue to play like this, which is the positive I'm going to take, especially if we get that extra centre half in. The Lionesses have been back in action with plenty of goals and action to chat about. After a successful 6-2 away win at Stenhousemuir, Livingston took on Gartcairn back at the Tony Macaroni Arena. Angus, you took in the women's game, and despite the result, it seemed like a pretty entertaining game, like Livingston just narrowly losing out on that one.
The second half was, to be fair. The first half was extremely scrappy. First half, both teams were, trying to kind of like figure each other out. There wasn't really an awful lot of quality within it. The main kind of issues that were being caused for, both teams was mainly like slack touches from, like their own defenders and that was maybe opening up a couple of nervy moments. But yeah, there wasn't really an awful lot that happened, to be honest. I think our best chance came from, I think we had a free kick from about 40 yards. Saved it. The goalkeeper made a decent save and the follow-up hit the side netting. Other than that, there's not really an awful lot to talk about within that kind of first 45 minutes. Gartcairn would take the lead like kind of right before half-time, though. Again, it's like talking about the guy's side. A free kick, a set pieces caused them a whole bunch of trouble. A header flicked onto the back post, and to be fair to the wee winger for Gartcairn, she tremendously placed the ball across goal to give them the lead. But yeah, it was kind of an uncharacteristic performance from our lassies. They seemed to be a bit sluggish. It wasn't the usual kind of like high energy. They were in a 5-3-2 kind of formation. Well, at times it kind of seemed more of like a 5-4-1. It was like Jen Dodds was up front kind of by herself with Rebecca Giaconelli, but I think Giaconelli kind of is more of a midfielder, so kind of naturally kind of comes back a wee bit. So I feel like we kind of missed a wee bit of like an attacking output. Obviously, we've watched Dodds a couple of times now. We know that she's a very energetic player, wants to get involved in the play. The issue was kind of coming from the fact that, if she was like drifting from, kind of the centre forward position, nobody was really up top to kind of be hit like after that. We've kind of been used to seeing like Vicky Wood and that playing, up front alongside her. There wasn't really that kind of focal point when Jen was kind of dropping in. Another kind of thing that was a good example was, the Gartcairn wingers tracked the two wing backs for us like incredibly well and kind of nullified them for the most part. But the second half, basically they scored again. I mean, you talked about it for the guys' side again, how, the patterns are emerging, set pieces and conceding goals straight after half time. It's the exact same here because a long ball over the top and suddenly Gartcairn made it 2-0. I think there was a questionable for whether it was offside or not, but you just got to kind of go on with that. But after that, though, the reaction from our team was, it was terrific. I mean, the pressure kind of got on. You could kind of see like the alarm bells ringing there. They're like, oh, well, we've got to do something now. And yeah, they got back into the game with Shannon Mulligan scoring a very good goal from the edge of the box. I think the goalkeeper was a wee bit thinking it was going wide and it just clipped the post and went in tremendously well. And then, Jess Murphy equalising from a corner as well. From that, though, I was expecting us to maybe like kick on a wee bit further more, but kind of resorted back to, that kind of scrappy first half. Both teams, were just kind of jostling for like possession and that, not an awful lot of quality going on. I don't think we really created an abundance of chances after that, to be honest, either. But I looked at Gartcairn and it was just kind of a scrappy game overall. And then, a late sucker punch as well. I think there's another free kick wasn't dealt with. And to be fair to Gartcairn, they knocked the ball about in the box pretty well. I think the lassie up front beat about three women and slotted in. And sometimes you just got to hold your hands up and say, a team scored a really good goal as opposed to the first two. But a very strange kind of performance. Positives to take from, the resiliency, but, it'll be an incredibly disappointing one for them to take, giving away kind of sloppy goals, conceding 3 at home and, eventually leaving. I think a good effort with no points.
I was at the first game against Invercally and certainly reading the match report from last week at Stenhousemuir. Paul Giaconelli's comments have been fairly similar for the two games, which was, took a wee bit of time to get into the game. And, it seems like a recurring theme in the game yesterday against Gartcairn as well, that seemed to be taking a little bit of time to work our way into games. And maybe it's just rustiness. As I say, the girls haven't been playing competitive games for a wee while, and maybe it's just, getting into a rhythm again. They're almost getting to know each other again a little bit as well, because they've not had all the sort of training that other teams have been able to do, just because they've not been able to because of the restrictions and things like that. So was there any performances? I know Gartcairn are fancied to do quite well this season, just having a wee read about them there. And was there any performances that you thought stuck out yesterday?
For our side, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I wouldn't say there wasn't any kind of poor performances, but I don't really feel as if anybody kind of stood out either. I'd probably just kind of talk about maybe like the back line with like Fiona Boslam and Jess Murphy. Yeah, it was just as solid as usual. I mean, we kind of big fans of Jess Murphy in that Edinburgh Cali game where literally anything that came to her, she was absolutely attacked. It was the same here, just for that kind of reason. You kind of got to like single her out maybe, but. Yeah, I think that is what the main issue was. Is I don't really think anybody was kind of stamping their own authority on the game. Not that saying that anybody was particularly poor or anything like that. It was just one of the games that was just kind of lacking a kind of a spark to it. As you said, you were talking about kind of Paul's reaction, like in the interviews and all of that. He said the exact same kind of thing after the game. He was saying, it felt very much like a game that we'd have like the first day of pre-season or something like that. Not quick enough, not sharp enough, but he's seeming very confident to kind of get back into it. Next week they play Gartcairn again, this time in the cup. So what a perfect chance to make things right by going out and doing them the week after, essentially.
Hopefully the girls can bounce back with a good performance in the cup as well. Let's all hope for that.
On Saturday, we make the short trip to Leith as we take on Jack Ross's Hibs at Easter Road. How are you feeling going into this one, lads?
It's going to be a pretty tough game. Hibs have started the season really well. I know they had the poor result away in Europe, but other than that, they've looked pretty good. Kind of seem almost like a bit typical Hibs this season. They look pretty good going forward, but you can still get at them. Certainly, I watched their opening game against Motherwell, and Motherwell caused them a lot of problems. The boy Van Veen, in particular, caused Hanlon and Porteous a load of problems. And we seem to have acquitted ourselves quite well against Hibs since we've got promoted a few years back. Last year I think the split game was our first defeat at Easter Road since promotion. So we seem to have Hibs' number a little bit when we go there. We always go there with a bit of a game plan to frustrate and almost make the game really scrappy, because I feel like echo thoughts that I've said in previous games with Hibs, but I feel like if you make the game a bit scrappy, they don't like it as much. But that's where I would maybe say Hibs have changed a bit under Jack Ross. I think they're a bit more pragmatic. I think they're more willing to just go, we'll take a 1-0, unlike Hibs teams of the past where it's all about, the style of football, they need to play a nice, attractive brand of football, attacking football. And as I say, I think that's changed a bit under Jack Ross, but, they've managed to keep a hold so far of the kind of prized assets that they've got, the guys that have been attracting a lot of interest, like the Doig, Porteous, albeit I'm questionable about Porteous, but and Nisbet up top as well. So they look like they could carry on kind of what they achieved last season, i.e. finishing third and getting to the latter stage of both cups. But it's going to be a really tough afternoon. Let's be honest. It's a game that, as Bruni touched on in the Motherwell game, when you looked at the fixture list coming out, you're going, it's one you can almost write off a little bit. But as I say, we've had a good record against Hibs at Easter Road, so I'm hoping that we can produce some sort of result.
Yeah, definitely, Ewan. I mean, what more can you say? It's a really tough game. I think the only maybe positive you can take is the fact, that I watched them yesterday and they didn't look too clever at the back. They've maybe got a few issues at the minute. Doig is swithering whether he's going to leave or not. They had Nisbet missing. Doig is out long term with an injury. So, and I don't think they had Newell playing as well either. So, it's a weird one. They obviously they could turn up and blow us away because they're always very, very good at Easter Road. They tend to control the ball. I don't think we'll have large spells of possession or anything like that. But defensively, if we can work on our offensive set pieces, then I think they're there to be got at, especially down the right hand side. I was speaking to a few Hibs fans yesterday. They're not too enamoured with Paul McGinn this season. He was a standout last season for me whenever I watched them. Very good for the fantasy team as well. But he's not been great this season. Apparently, most of their goals are coming from that right hand side. He came off at half time against Dundee, so maybe that's I'm not sure if that's a if that's Jack Ross sending him a message that he hasn't been good enough, or if he's been injured, because they were forced into bringing Lewis Stevenson on and he played right back. Obviously, naturally left back, so that was a bit of a difficult one. So both of us have in common that we're playing people in full back that we aren't meant to. But it is a strange one. I do think that they'll probably turn up and on the day be the better side. But there's no reason why we can't go there and try and get a point. Maybe all three if we bring a counter. As you've said, Ewan, we do look very good on the counter attack. We've got that pace in behind of Anderson, Forrest, maybe Odin Bailey on the right. But I am confident that we can go there and stay compact and maybe hit them on the counter. But it's just a difficult one. I'm just trying to take positives from that display I saw yesterday on TV. Dundee I don't think are fantastic, but they managed to put two past them. So you never know. Obviously, it wasn't at Easter Road. It was at Dens Park, so that maybe home crowd plays into it. But yeah, they don't look too clever at the back. So you never know. Obviously conceded twice to Motherwell as well.
I think that's the thing with Hibs. It's just always the exact same thing. On one hand, they could tear us apart, and then on the other hand, we could easily go there and score 2 or 3 ourselves, in all honesty. It's a very strange... They're just such a strange side. They're probably the strangest side in the league for that, because you just don't really know what to expect until, you kind of get there and it kind of pans out. You're not really sure what kind of version of their defence is going to be there. And then same with attack. We've, in recent seasons, you look at some of the results that we've had there, the fact that we've only lost once alone is, quite a surprise. That 3-0 game last season, I know we were on a hot bit of form. Nobody would have ever seen that coming. A couple of times, even like in games, the first half we absolutely dominated. And there's been a couple of them that went, like 2-0 up at half time or whatever. And then the second half, they've turned it on a wee bit more. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game. I always think it's kind of an exciting game, us versus Hibs at Easter Road. Hopefully it's another one, and hopefully, it's one that, we can pick up a point from. I guess with that, we'll just go straight into, our kind of like predictions for it. Ewan, travelling to Easter Road for the first time this season, what are you thinking?
I'm going to be positive. I think we're going to get our first point of the season. I'm going to go for a 2-2. I think it's going to be quite an exciting game. I'm going to go 2-2.
Callum, we'll just come to you straight after. You got a similar level of positivity?
Usually I do. Usually I'm the positive one in these predictions, but I'm going to say 2-1 Hibs. And I hate to do it. I really do hate to do it. But maybe I'll do it. Andy used to do it when he was on. Semple used to predict a defeat, hoping for a win.
Who?
The old boy that used to be on this, mate.
Great.
Used to have a weird accent and that. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 defeat for us. I think it'll be a relatively tight game. We'll keep it tight, as I say, but we'll just not do enough in the end, and their quality will show. I hope I'm wrong, though. Definitely hope I'm wrong.
I'm a similar vein of thought as Callum. I'm going to go for 3-2. I think 3-2 to Hibs. I think there's plenty of goals in this game. Unfortunately, I do feel that we're going to be slack at the back, and it's going to end up costing us, despite having quite a good attacking performance. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully vice versa, and we can get our first 3 points on the board, and just get stuck in about them.
That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livy. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in, week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Ewan said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search Talk Livy to find us, and you'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivypodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this week, though. Thank you very much again for tuning in, and let's hope that it's another great week following the Lothian's finest football team with a victory at Easter Road next weekend.
Livingston, a love will never die. West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Armavale. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Armavale Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the